Have you ever looked at the idea of dining in Japan and just felt a little overwhelmed? With all the rules, the etiquette, the dishes you've never heard of? Well, we're going to change that. Right here, we're going to flip that anxiety into pure excitement. We're going to give you the confidence to dive headfirst into what is, no joke, one of the greatest food scenes on the planet. We'll start with the why behind it all, and then we'll get right into the how. Okay, let's do this.
And that quote right there, it absolutely hits the nail on the head. See, a meal in Japan is so much more than just putting food in your mouth. It's really like a little window into the country's soul. Everything is deeply connected to philosophy, a huge respect for nature, and a unique sense of beauty.
So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to dig into the big ideas, the philosophy. Then, we'll get you the practical tools you need to feel comfortable at any table. After that, the fun part, we'll go on a tour of the most iconic dishes, figure out how to navigate the restaurants themselves, and finally, explore some amazing food that you'll find outside of restaurants. By the time we're done, you'll be thinking like an insider.
Okay, so before we even think about picking up a pair of chopsticks, we need to understand the philosophy that shapes every single dish. This is the why. This is what makes Japanese food so incredibly special. First up is shun. This is this beautiful, profound respect for seasonality. It's the reason why menus in Japan can completely change from one month to the next. It's all about celebrating an ingredient when it is at its absolute perfect peak. Tender bamboo shoots in spring, sweet corn in the summer, fatty mackerel in the fall. It's like the entire food culture is tuned to the rhythm of nature. Next, we've got wabi-sabi, the art of finding beauty in things that are simple, imperfect, and unadorned. In food, this means the presentation is often really minimal. You won't see a lot of flashy, over-the-top plating. Instead, the focus is on a simple, maybe even slightly flawed piece of pottery that just lets the natural beauty of the food be the star of the show. It's all about authenticity. And finally, omotenashi. This is something you will feel everywhere. It's this invisible force behind Japan's legendary service culture. It's a kind of selfless hospitality, where the goal is to anticipate what a guest needs before they even have to ask. This philosophy is exactly why the service is so amazing and why there's absolutely no tipping. It just creates this comfortable, respectful space for everyone.
All right, now that we get the mindset, let's build our practical toolkit. And I want you to think of these rules less as restrictions and more as a way for you to show gratitude and respect. It's really just putting those philosophies we just talked about into action.
These two phrases are non-negotiable. Before eating, you say, "Itadakimasu." Now this is not just let's eat, it's a moment of thanks for the lives of the plants and animals, for the farmer, the chef, everyone. Then, after the meal, you say, "Gochisousama." It literally means it was a feast, and it's a way of thanking them for all the effort. They're really beautiful little rituals.
Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, chopsticks. What are the biggest blunders, the absolute no-nos you can make? Knowing these few things will instantly make you feel way more comfortable.
Whoa, okay, I know that looks like a lot, but don't panic. You only need to burn 2 of these into your memory. The top 2. Tatebashi, which is sticking your chopsticks upright in your rice, and hashiwatashi, passing food from your chopsticks to someone else's. Both of these are connected to funeral rites, so they're the most serious ones to avoid. The rest are basically just about being polite. So, don't spear your food, don't pull dishes around with them, don't hover, and don't lick.
A few more quick pointers. It's totally fine and actually good manners to lift your small rice or soup bowls up closer to you. But try not to cup your free hand underneath your food to catch drips. That's called tazara, and it's seen as a bit clumsy. Also, when you're done, just leave your dishes where they are. Don't stack them. And yes, please slurp your noodles. It's not rude at all. It actually cools the noodles, lets you taste the broth better, and it tells the chef, hey, I am loving this.
Okay, foundations are set, we've got the philosophy, we've got the etiquette. Now for the best part. Let's dive into the food itself. This is our grand tour of Japan's most amazing dishes.
Want to eat sushi like a pro? There's a certain flow to it. You want to start with the light, white-fleshed fish, then move into the richer red fish like tuna, and save the really strong fatty stuff like toro for the end. But here is the single most important tip. Lightly dip the fish side into the soy sauce, not the rice. The rice will just soak it up and fall apart. This way, you respect the flavor balance the chef created. And remember, it's designed to be eaten in one perfect bite. Use the ginger in between to clean your palate.
Ramen menus can look a little intimidating, but most bowls really boil down to one of 4 main soup types. You've got shoyu, which is a classic soy sauce base, miso, which is rich and hearty and amazing in winter, shio is a light, salt-based broth that's really clean, and then tonkotsu. That's the super rich, creamy pork bone broth that's just incredible. If you know these four, you can confidently order ramen anywhere.
Here are a few quick pro tips for some other stars of the show. For tempura, if you can, always sit at the counter. Getting each piece the second it comes out of the fryer is a total game changer. For yakiniku or a Japanese BBQ, remember the salt to sauce rule. Start with the lightly salted meats, then move to the ones with heavy marinades. And for cold soba noodles, here's a beautiful little detail. You only dip about the bottom third of the noodles in the sauce. Then, when you're done, they'll give you the hot water the noodles were cooked in, the soba-yu, and you mix it with your leftover sauce to make a delicious warming drink. Nothing goes to waste.
We've covered the food. Now let's talk about the space itself. Here's how to navigate any Japanese restaurant, from a tiny ramen shop to a fancy izakaya, and put everything we've learned into practice.
So how do you order? It's usually pretty simple. In most places, you just raise your hand and say a polite sumimasen, which just means excuse me. But you'll also see these ticket machines, or kenbaiki, a lot, especially at ramen shops. Here's a little life hack. If you're totally lost and can't read anything, the chef's recommendation or the most popular dish is almost always the top left button.
Okay, here's a heads up. If you go to an izakaya, a Japanese pub, a small dish will probably arrive at your table that you didn't order. Don't worry, it's not a mistake. It's called otoshi. It's a small, compulsory appetizer that also works as your table charge. So just think of it as part of the fun of the izakaya experience, not some kind of hidden fee.
Now for the big question, the one everybody asks. How much do you tip? The answer is so simple, you'll never forget it. Zero. Absolutely nothing.
Remember that whole omotenashi thing? Great service is just part of the deal. It's already built into the price and the culture. So the absolute best way to show your appreciation is not with money, but with your words. As you're leaving, a sincere, heartfelt "Gochiso-sama deshita" to the staff is the greatest tip you can possibly give. But the food journey in Japan doesn't end when you leave the restaurant. Oh no! Some of the most mind-blowing culinary experiences are found in places you might never expect.
You have to check out a depachika. These are these spectacular food halls in the basements of big department stores, and they are like a wonderland. You'll find gourmet bento boxes that look like art, delicate sweets, high-end sake, you name it. Go wild on the free samples. And a little pro tip, if you go in the evening, around 6 or 7 p.m., they start discounting all the fresh food. You can get some amazing deals.
And then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have the humble konbini, the convenience store. But you need to forget everything you think you know about convenience store food. In Japan, it's shockingly high quality. The egg sandwiches are legendary for a reason. The onigiri rice balls have tons of creative fillings, and you have to try the hot fried chicken they keep in a case by the counter. It just shows you how seriously Japan takes its food, at every single price point.
So there you have it. You've got the philosophy, you've got the etiquette, and you've got a list of incredible things to eat. You now have all the keys you need to unlock Japan's amazing food culture. Honestly, the most important rule of all is just to be curious, be respectful, and have an amazing time. Enjoy the journey. So the only real question left is, what's your first food adventure going to be?